Welcome back to another episode of In Focus with Haversine Funding, show where we discuss trends, insights, and strategies that drive success within specialty finance. I'm your host, Nolan Reichert. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff Whaley. Jeff,
thanks for having me.
You're back?
I am. We can, today's start of the Cowboys season. I mean, any predictions on how many wins this year?
As a avid Steelers fan and a slight Cowboys hater, I'm gonna go with missing the playoffs.
Yeah, I think so.
Third in the division, the record. We'll see how that
I think
shakes out.
6 wins, 6 to 11.
We're gonna have some hate comments and some.
I'm gonna join in there.
Yeah. But today, we're sitting down with someone that brings a wealth of experience in specialty finance, and is currently leading a new charge in leadership with this new role. Today, we have very special guest, Michael Haddad. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm thrilled.
Absolutely. And many of our viewers and listeners may know Michael from his time in the industry. And a lot of our viewers and listeners may know him from his Saturday LinkedIn post updates, where he detailed his journey into his new current role as the president of SouthStar Capital. Congratulations on that role, by the way.
Appreciate it.
That's super exciting. But in those Saturday posts, Michael detailed week by week the updates, the discussions that he was having, the choices without giving away too much. And it was just really incredible to follow along that journey. It was very transparent. You kind of open up the door and shed some light on an experience and a process that isn't really talked about that transparent. So, that brought a lot of, as we were discussed previous to hitting record, a lot of new viewers and new individuals that were keeping up week by week, one including myself. So we're really excited to dig into your journey, your experiences, and then also kind of some feedback and some valuable insights that you got along that process of, finding your new current role. But to kind of dig in and dive right in, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the industry and, what that journey was like until where you are today?
Sure. Could I comment on the Cowboys route?
Oh, please do.
I think 5 wins. I'm sorry. I'm not calling it. And I'm a Niner fan, so let's put it there. It's sorry, you're not a hater, Jim, but
no worries.
It's Niners. Okay.
Yeah.
So how I got in the industry? Totally by accident.
Mm-hmm.
And I just finished college, and went home, and I was living with the parents. And I said, okay, time to get a job. And somebody told me about a recruiter. So I went and saw this recruiter. Long story short, it was in the days you had to pay them.
Right.
They didn't pay you.
Yeah.
So I borrowed $500 from my mom, paid the recruiter, and he sends me over to a company I never heard of, UM&M, United Merchants and Manufacturers Company. So it goes way back. They're not even in business. So I interview, and the guy told me, the recruiter, tell them you know everything about the business. They're a collection agency. I said, okay, great. So I tell the executive vice president, yeah, but what do you think we do? Well, you're a collection agency. He said, great, you're hired. You don't know a damn thing about what we do. True story. So that led me into the factoring world. It was just by absolute accident. So here I sit today after all that years by walking in the wrong places.
And what was the role that you were interviewing for?
It was in a bullpen of 4 gentlemen at the time, and we were collectors. So the recruiter had it right in essence, but not collecting like from individuals.
Right.
We were just doing credit checks and background checks and things like that. Mm-hmm. So it actually taught me a little bit of the inside of factoring from a bullpen. And that led to the next phase, which was, you talk about career moments. A buddy of mine knew a bank, and that bank was Chemical Bank. And he knew a field exam manager there. And he said, go see him. And then I knew nothing what was field exam, but that was ABL. So that kind of got me turned from factoring and ABL. So I went to see him, and he said, hey, you're a young guy, you're living at home, you like to travel? I said, I haven't been anywhere. He goes, you're going to make a great field examiner. So he hired me. And I'm going to tell you, for $7,500, that was my first salary. So I went home and told my mom, I'm rich. I was just thrilled. They sent me off to California, where I'd lived before, and that led to field exam and through the whole process. And Chemical was great. Put me through credit training and all the rest. So fantastic accidental journey to start.
Wow, that's really interesting. I feel, especially in today's world where I'm talking to a lot of individuals, and it's it's so crazy how often you hear it's like, oh, I just kind of fell into this and stuck around. It's not something that is part of core curriculum. It is usually just by accident. I mean, I started an internship and just kind of was like, what is this? And you just stick around, you learn to love it. So how has, since you started in, how has that kind of shifted? What have you seen change in the industry? What are like some key points or key differences that you've seen since once you first started to today?
Everything's changed. I mean, everything. Everything from how people defraud you to start out with a negative.
Yeah.
They've gotten a lot better at it. And obviously our systems and the things we do have changed dramatically. Back then, ABL wasn't really on campus. It wasn't widely accepted. Banks had it, of course. Credit training, you did your rotation between factoring, ABL, the commercial bank and all. So you got a sound foundation. Then the banks, for whatever the reason, economics won, got away from it. So there's a big gap, a people gap, so to speak, in the industry, in factoring as well as ABL, where you have my generation and the generation previous to me, and then 2 generations, there was literally no one. So we had to respond as an industry, talk about change, and say, what are we going to do? How do we fill in that 20 or 30 years? So we started the under 40 and all of the great programs that have been done now. So people now are back. People are interested. People are energized about the industry. Systems now changed dramatically again. When I started, again, they didn't have computers. They had little green cards. And all you heard from your office was pump, pump, jump, pump, pump, pump. And people are posting. You're like, what? Then you would hear an occasional curse or 2 or 3 yelling in the background. So I'll leave out what they were.
I think that part hasn't changed too much.
I know. Well, that's true. When you talk about management style.
Constant in the same
Right. But it was the yelling, screaming days. What I wanted to say. Days are gone. So, but that has changed dramatically. And then it was a lot of I and a lot of I'm the boss and a lot of whatever role you were. And obviously people realized over time it wasn't all about I. And really, there's no I in team. It is really about team. So, one of the things you really learn as a manager coming up through the ranks is hire the right people, put them in the right place, empower them to do their job. Don't use a bunch of buzzwords. Really empower them. Say, this is what we do. Have them buy into the vision. Have the systems to support them, and let things work out.
No, I think that's great. And that gives a little bit of an insight kind of into your leadership style. And, when I talk to people about you and like, for instance, our co-CEO, Jen Merritt-Parikh, is obviously she goes way back with you, a huge fan of yours.
I'm glad she's not here today because I'd be embarrassed.
It was funny because she was like, if I'm on the podcast with Michael, it's just going to be reminiscing the entire 30 minutes. And he's just like, I didn't want to do that.
I might see if we do that.
No, and that's great. But, I would say actually on the theme of reminiscing, when you look back at your past and kind of, okay, well, what shaped your leadership style? What were the pivotal events that you kind of, when you look back, like, that was something I really learned from, or that really kind of shaped how the executive I've become? What are the things that if you had to point back to 1 or 2 things, what are those events?
Well, one of them, which I don't really talk about much, and some people know, is it was my trip to Saudi Arabia. When I ran a bank there. I was a head consultant. So I actually left the industry, left chemical after 10 years. I was running the LBO group. Somebody called me with a foreign accent that I didn't understand. And he said, meet me at this hotel and I'm interested. And I went home, told my wife, she said, what? Where are we going? I said, just think of what a great adventure. So meeting the people of the world and being in that position, which I really knew nothing about, was humbling. So that was my first real humbling experience because I'm kind of not a humble guy. At least I try to be, but sometimes it doesn't come across. And to meet all these people and to learn different ways and different cultures, I took that, came back to the States and said, okay, next job, I need to be different. I need to look at things a little differently. So really that was the first major. There were other defining moments when people, say things they shouldn't to you or they should and you don't want to hear it. Is there the real thing? But that was the real first defining moment.
Well, I imagine that was an incredible experience as banking in Saudi Arabia, given, some of the rules and culturally about interest. And assessing that I imagine that was a really fantastic, just a fascinating experience. So
it was
just having to be creative and think about the way you structure transactions, really.
Yeah, it was. And coming back to the States, now you're schooled in that and how to do Sharia lending, Sharia law.
Sure.
And there were a few deals we had, not many, but then you have to hire the right attorneys and all. But it was really defining Not so much in products and things like that. Of course, you're learning, but it was defining as a human being and how you're looked at as an American abroad. Not good, not bad, just way different. And there are, again, some of the people like Americans, some don't. So you've got to learn to temper that a little bit. It isn't about pounding your chest and I'm an American and I know everything. Or I'm Michael Haddad and I know everything. Michael Haddad or know everything. So very, very defining. It's a first moment.
Okay, great. Changing gears a little bit, I want to get back. Nolan alluded to or talked about your LinkedIn post about your journey. I mean, for me, and you probably, it was appointment reading for me every Saturday morning. And in fact, we were just joking earlier that LinkedIn obviously picked up on the fact I was reading them because every time you posted, it was an immediate notification. I think what led you to do that? I mean, obviously, I think that we talked about this kind of a vulnerable, gesture where you're looking for a position and you're talking through that. What led you to kind of do that? That's because I think it's an interesting journey
of things. When I thought about rolling out of the last opportunity, I was talking to Buddy, and he said, "How are you going to do what you're going to do?" And I said, "I'm going to just call my friends and call everybody I know."
Right.
And he said, "Why don't you use LinkedIn?" And I said, "Well, I've been on LinkedIn. We've all been on LinkedIn." He said, "No, why don't you conduct a search to LinkedIn?" So I thought, what are you, crazy? And then I started reading on LinkedIn and what to do and how to do it and all the rest. And I said, you know what? If you're going to do it once a week. So I concocted the Saturday morning, let me tell the world and go from there. But the key was I had to tell myself I really didn't care what people thought.
Exactly.
And I had a lot of people who loved it, like 15 to 20,000 a week. And I had a few who didn't like it and told me, what do you think this is Facebook and why are you doing this? And somebody even, sent a nasty gram and all the rest of it. Is like, oh, please, life is too short.
Yeah.
So that got me going. And then the reaction, Jeff, was so overwhelming about the number of people I thought I knew that I didn't know. And a lot of people down the same road I was going. And all of a sudden, I had everybody from CEOs to collateral analysts to all across the country. I even people reach out from India saying, how do you conduct a job search? And I tell everybody, hey, I'm no expert at this, and we'd talk and we'd help each other. So after the first or second post, it really got the side of me is, you know what? Yeah, I want another opportunity. I love the game. I love the hunt, but I really want to help people. Right. And I know that sounds what it sounds like, but I really meant it. And I found people some jobs. And I said, you know what? Hang on another week or another month. My opportunity is cooking. I had so many opportunities, but the one I wanted is the one I got. And I said, stay cool for another week or two. I'll hire you. So it just was so fulfilling to go down that road.
It's just such an I think what you did is the perfect use of LinkedIn. I mean, it's just such an identifiable experience for anyone in their career. That's what I loved about it. I mean, one, the vulnerable, like we talked about earlier before we got on here, the vulnerability involved, but just how easily identifiable. I think that really should be what we're doing on LinkedIn.
Right. Like it didn't matter, you were looking for an executive position, but it didn't matter what level, what space anyone was in. It was, you were posting updates on, I talked to these groups that were looking for these positions as well. And it just kind of, how I viewed it almost was like a market update, a pulse on what's going on. With the amount of individuals and groups that you were speaking to, it felt like such a wide net in your network, and you were just sharing that with everyone, because you can go on and you can look at job boards or to get an idea of like who's looking for what, but that it only shows you such a fraction of the actual conversations that are taking place with those companies that are hiring, or even those people that haven't posted jobs and are just, hey, if you know someone, send them my way. So it was super fascinating. What was your reaction with the level of engagement or response that you got? Did you have sort of an initial reaction, and how did that keep building as the weeks went?
It did, but I learned so much from it, and my reaction really changed over the weeks. The first few weeks were a lot of the people we know, a lot of peers, a lot of colleagues. Oh, what about this? What about that? Try this, try that. And they're trying to be helpful. And that road I quickly changed from, and I said, I'm glad I didn't go down that road. Make a phone call, send an emails and all that, and cast the net the way I did. Then people started to approach me that I never would even thought of going to. In peripheral industries and things that we as lenders think we know everything, there are people doing stuff that we have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
The more I talk to people, the more I go, what? We used to call it fintech. We used to use words IT. They're gone now. There's no such thing. There are subsections and sectors, and what people are doing with technology is amazing. And we have to recreate ourselves. There's a lot of, I'm a collateral analyst. That's a great example. And this is what I do. And I had a great conversation with her saying, you know what, maybe you need to do this, and maybe you need to look at that, and maybe you need, and she wound up getting a job in a different vertical than she was in because she used different terms and terminology. Again, I don't want to say she got it because of me, but I kind of opened her eyes a little bit, just like my eyes were being opened on a lot of these opportunities. In fact, 3 of the ones that I really love were in nothing to do with what we're talking about, factoring or ABL. They were in side industries. I went, not manufacturing, but to do with lending and to do with that road. So I loved it. But then now the last part of it is now that is going on, and it still is. I'm still getting a lot of calls from folks, still talking to people. Now I've got to look at LinkedIn and say, okay, LinkedIn's been great. Now monetize it. Now you're in a spot. What do you do with LinkedIn? How do you use it the right way? And again, this is no commercial for LinkedIn. I'm just saying that vehicle that I used, get deals from, hire people from, help people, do all those things. Forget about putting up a recipe or I went here for, vacation stuff. Never do anything personal on it. I will never do it. It's just, that's not the platform. So now it's turn that around and get LinkedIn to really benefit this chapter and continue helping the people down the road. That's how I look at it now.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's the right way to do it. There was a time where being involved in LinkedIn was more of a novelty, I think, as much as anything. Or I mean, for the longest time, my view of it was like it's a digital Rolodex, basically. But you're right. I mean, I think that when we're for our own personal careers, and then, like you said, the other chapter for our businesses, I mean, I think it's incredibly important to do that, because I think there's just so much. It's a gold mine of potential links.
It is.
I don't.
So you got to speak with, a number of people, have tons of engagement. What advice would you give to someone that's on their job search as well, or trying to navigate what they want to do?
I have 2 little slogans I tell my 2 boys all the time and everything. Number 1, and I've told this to a lot of people, as hokey as they sound, when you're ready to give up, try one more time. Don't stop. And the other is be persistently consistent. And I don't know how I got that or where I got them. And my message was always, you're depressed, you're down, you got ghosted. Somebody told you in 5 interviews that you went to, the job is yours, and you never hear back from them again. You go on LinkedIn, you go on ZipRecruiter, wherever, and all of a sudden you see the little number at the bottom. You're one of 1,800 people who applied. Maybe that's a lesson. Don't go somewhere else. Lean on people. Keep going. Never, never give up, even in the darkest day. Because you know what? Today may be the darkest day. Tomorrow's going to be a light day. And the light will shine brighter. So again, as hokey as that sounds, and it was my constant message. It wasn't about are you able? Are you qualified? It was really look inside yourself, take the next step. I told a CEO level gentleman about a month ago, take a week off. Do nothing. Get re-energized, reimagine yourself. Come back out. If you want me to be the first call me up. Let's BS about whatever. And just things like that. People want hope. I know that sounds the way it sounds, but people want hope. When you're on that journey, it's not easy. The doors are slammed. You're told what you're told. And being positive is the other thing. No matter how negative it is, be positive. Stay positive. Stay above the fray. Don't criticize anybody. Don't criticize your past employer. Nobody wants to deal with that. It's energy sucking. And again, a lot of cliches, but still the message is the same. Be positive. Keep going. Don't give up.
I think that's important. I mean, the job search, obviously, it's a journey, like you said, and we've talked about, it's a journey more than the sprint. But I think that's an important message, not just when you're looking for a job, but when you're actually in one. You've got to have that energy. You don't want to be an energy suck on the people around you. You want to drive things. And like I said, I think that's incredibly important.
I love
advice.
Switching gears a little bit, more focus on the trend side of things. What do you see as some challenges that non-bank or even bank ABL groups are facing today?
Yeah, there are a number of very big challenges, some very new challenges as well. I'll start with AI. AI to me, again, that's another thing like saying IT.
Yeah.
Is not really, I'm not worried about it personally. Yeah, it's going to do what it's going to do from an efficiency standpoint. I'm all over it. I'm trying to do what I need to do to bring that into the company as well, but in a way that'll make us more efficient. I don't think we're going to have wholesale loss of jobs and all the rest. You can't replace a human. You just can't.
Yeah, right.
You know, so, but there are a number of companies out there who are doing some really cool stuff with it. And again, I want to bring, so like underwriting as a quick example, great trend. So I want to bring in the efficiency of having an AI thing, for the lack of a better description, help with the underwriting, but yet have it look at the cognitive side of it and give it access to our write-ups, how we do things, how we analyze risk, marry the two together. Now produce the final credit write-up in 5 minutes, not a day or 3 or 5.
Right.
So there are technology out there that are going down that road. So that's a big challenge. How do you use that technology? There are so many, I'm getting so many calls. I've got to weed through them and say, okay, what's really going to help? Right. I had one yesterday. The technology was so over my head. I called our tech guy. I said, I don't know what the hell I just sat in on. Right. And, I'm going to help you in lending. I'm going to marry everything together. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know,
it's time for
help. Yeah. So that's big. The other is private credit and private equity. To me, it's been a negative. And again, not to be negative about it, but just there's been a lot of positives about private credit. And private equity, they funded a bunch of my startups. So, thank you very much. I like you. No, but I think what's gone on now is the hunt for more and more assets, the growth push that is involved in a private equity group is just beyond compare. And there are a number of groups that have started up, some local, some national, where it's better. You better grow. And if you don't grow, you're out. Right. That's forced them to do some lending they shouldn't be doing, in my opinion. And there have been some failures, and there's going to be more failures. And somebody asked me a number of times, is there room for another ABL shop? Absolutely. If somebody does it the right way, there's room for it. The lenders who are over-lending, they're going to go away. They just are. The private equity groups will force that. Is that a good thing for the industry? I don't know. You might argue, yes, less is good. But that's a big, big challenge. The other is they've really run out of places to go. And that's why all of a sudden you hear private credit. And what they're trying to do is lift experienced folks out of companies and say, let's do it again. And so I don't know how that treadmill is going to go. The other real trend that people need to really focus on is now with the economy the way it is, and after interest rates have been so high for so long, an asset-based lending deal or factoring deal can't shoulder 8, 9, 10, 12%, whatever the number is, debt for a long time. The gross margins just aren't there. So if you look at the bankruptcies in Dallas, especially Southern District, Northern District, we lead the country. We made it easier to file bankruptcy, federal. Right. So now the trend away from the federal and to state is coming back to federal. Well, people are running hard. Go to a TMA conference. Go to any of these turnaround flags, record attendance, because everybody's seeing that's coming. So I see there's going to be a shakeout in that regard. Another challenge.
Interesting perspective. Yeah.
No, I know, Shar, looking at equipment finance, you're potentially looking at getting equipment finance. What's leading you to look at that space?
Yeah, we do a little equipment finance now, but my last 3 spots, I've had equipment finance, in bank and out of bank. And it's all about picking the right place to play. It's very conducive to offering that to your existing client base. So ABL, if you marry ABL and factoring next to equipment finance, now your BDOs can go out into the field and say, I've got 3 products. They don't need to be fluent in all 3, but at least know that they offer it. And clients want that extra piece of equipment. They want to do this. They want to do that. There's another side to it too, Jeff, on capital markets. There's a lot of paper you can buy. I don't intend to do that. I did that in a couple of previous lives, but it's a lower cost of capital, and we're an independent, so we don't enjoy bank deposits for free, is right. A challenge for an independent, right?
Exactly.
So, and banks love it. I mean, that's a mainline product for the banks. And my last 3 to 4 spots, we got billions of it outstanding. So, and again, there's so many versions of equipment finance. There's app only for small stuff. You know, you could do
Well, I mean, it generally feels like it's a type that, since many times it's a discrete asset, it makes it a lot easier to potentially securitize it out, and I think that's obviously for banks a really attractive quality of equipment finance.
It is. One of the challenges, though, I will not use leasing because I don't want to get into the leasing business. So equipment finance is like paying a loan.
Right.
Yep.
So,
And the key is how sticky is the equipment, which is the underlying theory, because you don't want it back. You don't want a big warehouse with all your equipment sitting in it that somebody returned.
right.
What are you going to do with it? You know, so
Absolutely.
we've had that before as well. So this will be a true finance, and they'll take the risk of using it and owning it and all those things. And it'll be more stable for the portfolio. It'll be a 5-year deal usually, some 3s, but 5s usually, some 7s, again, depending on the credit quality. But different underwriting, different people you need to do it, different vertical.
Yep.
But it marries very nicely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some other credit trends that you're following closely, 2025, early 2026?
Really, the loosening of credit is the biggest. And again, it's married to volume, and everybody's after volume. But banks are in a bad place, in my opinion. And having just come out of a bank and having come out of the last 3 of the banks,
Right.
the regulators are all over. And if anybody says, oh, the regulators are not, they are. I literally dealt with them every week in the last role. And it wasn't about, anything bad or negative. It was about growth. It was about, we need to control growth. We don't want the banking industry to get over its skis again like it did before.
Right.
So they've taken all this risk, systemic risk, as they call it, and they're chasing it out of the regulated banks. And where's it going? It's going into the world I'm in now.
Exactly.
And the world you're in now.
Right.
And then now everybody's saying, oh, well, now we created new systemic risk. Yes, you did. So to answer your question, I'm worried about the non-regulated systemic risk now and how intertwined we all are with each other. It's not about company A lending to B or B to C. It's 7 or 8 different entities doing various things, all in, to use my hands, as one ball called a lending relationship. And they better watch. It's it may come home to bite them.
I mean, if anything, you haven't really eliminated the systemic risk. You've just diffused it. It's just in a lot more hands than it was before, which, again, there's good qualities of that, and there's bad qualities of that. It's obviously good qualities that you don't necessarily have the too big to fail issue, but it's also hard to track, it's hard to trace, and hard to keep a handle on because it's just everywhere at this point in time.
It is. I agree.
Yeah. So, digging into your current role now. So what was it that, out of all the opportunities that you had, all the different groups that you spoke to, you said this was the one that you had your eye on, that you really wanted to come to fruition. What was it that stood out the most?
My view, and this is one of the things, talking to people, and when people approach me, I said, I have to like who I'm going to be dealing with.
Yep.
And of course, with first impression, you can't like somebody. It's not a human trait.
Right.
But you learn over time. Well, the owner of this company, I instantly liked. And again, I didn't know a heck of a lot about the ownership when I first was exposed. Then over 2-3 months, you learn, and then you like or you don't like.
Right.
So at the stage of my career, I can have that bit of luxury, to use that word, where I could say, well, I don't like that person.
Right.
Even though the opportunity may be good, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I had a number of those. And going back to, numbers of opportunities one has in their lives, I really said, I'm going to wait for people I like, and then couple and marry together the concept of like and real opportunity. So that always shined through in this situation. And it took a few months to make it the right time.
Right.
And then it became the right time. And then boom, it was the right time. And I look back and said, wow, I'm glad I took that road. It was windy, it was choppy, it was hilly and bumpy and all of those things, but you had to deal with it the way you had to deal with it. So I'm glad it came through, and it proved again to me the road I chose was the right road, even though at times I was a little, did I do this right?
Yeah, where's this road taking me?
Exactly. So, but I kept it in. So, it's been great, and ownership is amazing, and
It's awesome.
Yeah, so now it's off to the races, right?
Well, it's funny when people talk about presidencies, they always talk about the first 100 days. But I mean, obviously in your role, I think that, it's really the first 6 to 12 months. So what would you say your priorities for the first 6 to 12 months in your new role?
Yeah, there are a number of them. And again, we've all talked about them. One is we're going to start an ABL and equipment finance group here in Dallas. So I'm hunting for offices right now. I did the full day tour last week of 8 properties, realized how rents have gone up in the last 5
They
years.
really
Unreal.
I can empathize with that.
Yeah, just ridiculous. So going through all that, also I'm going to need a lender finance facility, which I brag to the world about. We have one now, but I want to need a bigger one. So I'm contacting a bunch of lenders, my buddies, blah, blah, blah. Let's get together, putting a data room together, getting that going.
Yep.
And then I have an existing fantastic company sitting in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, which does mainly factoring. And we have 40-odd folks doing what they do. We have an amazing machine. We close 100 deals a year in what we do. So the challenge is get the machine to operate more efficiently, to commoditize it. Right. We have great folks doing what they do. So keep that going. Add to it, add in factorings, mainline factoring, and add in ABL, equipment finance, put it all together, and then re-energize the brand. We had a great redo of our website a year ago. We have a great director of marketing. She does an amazing job. Right. She keeps me going. I mean, just every day. What about this? What about that? Just amazing look at things. We're a data-driven company, so I love that. And a lot of what we do, we get 70% of our leads over the internet, website, and all the rest. So now I need to build the relationship side of it.
Yep. Exactly.
So a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunity.
Well, that rings familiar for us because we talk about that. I mean, especially this guy right here a lot, but it's never just that one touch. We generally find that when we work with clients, it's been after 6, 7 touches and different ways of connecting. So it's never just one size fits all. It's a journey again. It's finding multiple touch points.
The job search, you got to marry the timing with the opportunity and really stay on top of it, because they might not need it today, but tomorrow, different challenges. And that's super exciting. We're really thrilled to watch what you do.
Definitely.
Thank you.
In your new role, I feel like, even though I don't know you very well, I feel like I'm in a sense connected and invested in the success of what's going on, just because, we were all part of the weekly updates and everyone was super excited for the next Saturday. It was like, what's going to happen? So, you've had a very successful career, very interesting journey with different experiences that a lot of people in our space would not be able to relate to. So kind of walking away with some takeaways and words of advice, what career advice would you have to maybe someone that might be new into the space or might be, in the space for a long time but just from your experiences, your knowledge, what's some advice that you would have them walk away with?
Yeah, number one for me, and I was thinking about this during the journey, and I had to discipline myself to say, I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking for an opportunity.
Right.
And I had to have my mindset in that regard, saying, okay, it's positive. It's not a job. It's not every day. So I look at things that way. But the number one piece of advice I give people is, and this is a direct quote from a senior at the time account executive at Chemical. I sat across his desk and I was in training, and he said, be the village idiot, quote unquote. And I looked at him like, I'm a supercharged, jerk out of school. What do you mean be the village idiot? I know everything. And he said, be quiet. Always be quiet first. Listen. And the more you train your mind and your mindset to do that, the more successful you'll be. So honestly, I had a tough time with that one. I probably still have a tough time with that one, sitting here right now with the two of you. But I tell people that all the time. I tell my boys that all the time. And we had a little SFNet deal in Boston not long ago, and I was in the table with 10 of the under 40s, and that was the first thing they asked me. And I told them the same thing. So I got some weird stares, and then after an hour, we all talked about it, and you translate being a village idiot into different things. Right. It's not about being stupid. It's not about being underhanded or anything. It's about learning. It's about being part of what we all now call team.
Yep.
And we didn't use those words back then. A team. What's a team? You're always on a team. So now we're realizing it's all about that. So that was my really first thing. It stuck with me all these years, still does, and I still learn from it every day. Just to be the village idiot. Yeah. But I don't say that out loud to anybody in my company.
No, but I mean, that's so true. I mean, like when I started my career, I started in the audit profession, and that's something that they hammered into us. So when you're talking to a client, just listen. They're
Yeah.
going to tell you so much, but just listen, and don't feel like you've got to fill the silence with words. Just let them talk. And I think that's an incredibly vital lesson in every role you come into.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed. Yeah, we tell the BDOs that. I have all through. When you walk in, don't sit in there for the first 30 minutes with the CEO and tell him everything you do and why you do and all.
Right.
You walk in high, he knows what you do or she knows what you do.
Yep.
Exactly.
How could I help you? Shut up. Sit down. It's hard if you're in sales. I mean, it's difficult. You want to impress.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you had mentioned there's a few roles that you're currently hiring for. What are some skill sets when you are looking at talent in today's world? What are some skill sets that set them apart?
Really creativity. And I don't mean that in the sense of, oh, they need to be an artist. Not that creativity.
Right.
But to really think, there's a box. We all have a box we lend to or buy from or whatever the industry you're in. But be creative in how you approach the box. And be creative in the sense of how do you get things done? Don't look at this as your job. This is your opportunity now to add value, because when you add value to the company, you're adding value to yourself. And again, I'm no psychologist or anything, but that's just how I look at things. And be courteous as well. And that's something I would have never said like 10 years ago. But we've kind of, and I'm not talking about America, I'm talking about in our industry.
Yep.
We really lost the ability to be courteous to each other in the sense of sharing opportunities, sharing things, sharing, oh, if I know a role, I call up Nolan or Jeff, hey, I know this role. Take the extra step. It doesn't hurt anybody.
Right.
And you can do it whether you're 30 or 50 or 70 or 80 or whatever. Why not? It doesn't put any negativity in the situation.
Right.
I was trying to choose a word, but yeah, negative is good.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that especially in an industry where the structures are as bespoke as ours are, the creativity and just taking a moment saying, okay, hold on a second, what's the solution here? What's the outcome? And I think that, and where are the pain points and how do we get around that? I think that it's marrying the listening and this being open with the creativity as well. I think that's so vital. We're getting close to the end of our interview. So any final thoughts, any final just takeaways that you want to people who may have followed you on LinkedIn or may be watching here, any final takeaways you'd like to pass along?
Keep following, number one. Number two, send me deals. Number three, follow a king. Gotta say something positive.
Of course.
No, I would, I'm going to continue doing that. Now that journey's over, but I really want to help the people that I started down the road with. Some of the folks that have moved on to other jobs and other opportunities, both. I want to stay in touch with them, not for any personal benefit, because I've made some friends that I didn't know I had. And then obviously if it leads to something for SouthStar, great. That's fantastic and all the rest. It doesn't impinge on anything else. But I just think it creates something and a mindset that maybe others will follow. And they'll say, hey, I can do the same thing. I don't need to be a president, a CEO. I could be a collateral analyst. I could be anybody, and I could do the same thing. I think that would just add a little bit of a steamroller to the situation. And it may not, but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
No, that's great wisdom. Love it.
Yeah. No, wrapping up here, I can't thank you enough for joining us, through this, conversation that we had. I feel like there's just drops of gold all throughout it, and a lot of advice, you sharing your journey and others that are listening or watching, ways that they can continue to be impactful, the ways that you have been. For those that are listening, might have advice, questions, think they're a good fit for a role, where can our viewers and listeners find you?
You can find me no, I'm only kidding. At SouthStar. You want my phone number?
No, like what's the, if someone was listening and wanted the best way to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. I have none of my contact data is secret. Haddad at SouthStar.com or 214-455-0205. Nice, like a commercial.
Yeah.
But all kidding aside, I mean, call me, contact me. I will always have time for anybody.
Well, congratulations again on the role and best
wishes.
We're all going to be watching with just really eager expectations.
Yeah,
thank you both. I
super
appreciate
excited for what's the future holds for you and SouthStar. Jeff,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks you for joining. Really appreciate it. And to all of our viewers and listeners, thank you especially for joining us on another episode of In Focus with Haversine Funding. Remember to stay informed, stay inspired, and stay on course to growing your financial platform. Until next time.